A divine voice stirred the silence within my heart, instructing me to leave my homeland and my father's house and travel to the land it would show me. This voice was not something heard by the ears, yet it was clearer and more powerful than the loudest storm. It declared, "I will make you into a great nation. I will bless those who bless you, and curse those who curse you, and through you, all nations on earth will be blessed." These words, spoken by the Lord, marked the start of my journey. I am Abraham, born Abram, in the city of in Mesopotamia, a prosperous place nourished by the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. My father Terah was a respected man, but our lives followed the usual patterns of a polytheistic society, shaped by the seasons and rituals. The divine call was both a moment of awakening and a break from the norm. "I will make you into a great nation, bless you, and make your name great. You will be a blessing," the Lord promised in Genesis 12. How could someone like me, an ordinary man among many, be chosen for such a destiny? The promise felt as vast as the night sky I stood beneath. At 75 years old, my incredible story began when I chose to set aside my fear and embrace this journey. Little did I know that I would live to 178 years and have many descendants. And so my story started, full of hope and unwavering faith. I obeyed the Lord, setting out with my wife Sarai, my nephew Lot, and all our possessions, heading toward Canaan, guided by the divine promise. We journeyed northwest, passing through Haran before reaching Canaan, a fertile land of hills and valleys. Canaan was inhabited by diverse peoples living in fortified cities, each governed by its own king. Life here was different from Fields and vineyards stretched far and wide, and the scent of olive groves and fig trees filled the air. Though the land was promising, it was occupied by others. I traveled to the sacred place of Shechem, under the oak of Moreh, where the Lord appeared to me again. From there, I moved to the mountainous region between Bethel and Ai, setting up camp and building an altar to the Lord, marking each step of the journey with faith and devotion. But soon, the land became inhospitable due to a severe famine. "Why have you brought us here?" I wondered, looking to the sky for answers. Reluctantly, we decided to head to Egypt, a land of full granaries, though I knew it would test the Lord's promise to care for my family. "Fear not, Abram, for I am your shield, your very great reward," echoed in my heart from Genesis 15. Still, aware of Sarai's beauty and fearing for my life, I devised a plan. Our stay in Egypt was marked by wealth and tension, as the Lord sent plagues on Pharaoh's house because of Sarai. Pharaoh confronted me, saying, "Why did you not tell me she was your wife?" He returned her to me and ordered us to leave, sending us away with our possessions. We returned to Canaan, wealthier than before, with a deeper understanding of God's protection and guidance. As we journeyed northward, conflicts arose between my herders and Lot's due to our growing wealth. To maintain peace, I suggested that Lot choose which direction to go, and I would take the opposite. Lot chose the fertile Jordan Valley, moving east near Sodom, while I remained in Canaan. After we parted, the Lord reaffirmed his promise. "Look north, south, east, and west. All the land you see I will give to you and your descendants forever." I settled near the oaks of Mamre in Hebron, where I built another altar to the Lord, grateful for his guidance. One day, while sitting at the entrance of my tent, 3 men appeared. I hurried to welcome them, offering water, food, and rest. Sarah prepared bread, and I offered them a calf from the herd. As they ate, they inquired about Sarah, and one of them, speaking with divine authority, promised that she would bear a son within a year. Sarah, overhearing this from the tent, laughed in disbelief, but the Lord reaffirmed, "Is anything too hard for the Lord?" Frightened, Sarah denied laughing, but the Lord said, "Yes, you did laugh." As the men departed toward Sodom, the Lord revealed his plans to destroy the city for its wickedness. Concerned for justice, I pleaded with the Lord to spare the city if 50 righteous people could be found, eventually reducing the number to just 10. In his mercy, the Lord agreed not to destroy it if even 10 righteous people were found. One evening, as two angels arrived in Sodom, my nephew Lot was seated at the city gate. Upon seeing them, he immediately rose to greet them, showing respect by bowing low to the ground. He urged them to stay at his home for the night, offering them a place to wash their feet and rest, promising they could continue their journey the next morning. Although they initially declined and preferred to stay in the city square, Lot insisted, and they eventually accepted his offer. Lot then prepared a meal for them, including unleavened bread, and they ate. As we spent the evening together, the men of Sodom, from the youngest to the oldest, surrounded Lot's house, demanding he hand over the visitors so they could mistreat them. Lot went outside, closing the door behind him, and begged them not to commit such an evil act. In desperation, he even offered his 2 virgin daughters in place of the guests, an extreme measure that reflected his determination to protect those under his roof. However, the crowd rejected Lot's plea and threatened to treat him worse than they intended for the men. As they pressed in, the angels intervened, pulling Lot inside and striking the attackers with blindness so they could no longer find the door. Afterward, the angels revealed their purpose: to destroy Sodom because of its wickedness. They urged Lot to gather his family and leave immediately. Lot tried to warn his sons-in-law, but they thought he was joking. As dawn approached, the angels, in the Lord's mercy, took Lot, his wife, and daughters by the hand and led them out of the city. Once outside, they instructed Lot to flee to the mountains and not look back. Fearing he couldn't make it that far, Lot requested to seek refuge in a small town nearby, Zoar. The angels agreed, and Lot and his family took shelter there. As the sun rose and Lot reached Zoar, the Lord rained down sulfur and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah, destroying the cities. However, Lot's wife disobeyed the command not to look back, and she became a pillar of salt. The next morning I returned to the place where I had stood before the Lord and watched in horror as the smoke rose from the ruins of the cities. Yet, even amidst this judgment, the Lord remembered his promise to me and spared Lot, showcasing both his justice and mercy. After leaving Sodom, I moved to the Negev and settled in the region of Gerar. There, King Abimelech took Sarah into his palace, unaware she was my wife. That night, God appeared to Abimelech in a dream, warning him that he was on the verge of committing a grave sin. Frightened and surprised, Abimelech defended his innocence, explaining that both Sarah and I had said she was my sister. In his mercy, God acknowledged Abimelech's innocence and prevented him from sinning. God instructed him to return Sarah to me, adding that I, as a prophet, would intercede for him so he would not face death. At dawn, Abimelech told his servants what had happened, causing fear among them. He summoned me, asking why I had deceived him, nearly leading him to sin. I explained that I feared there was no reverence for God in Gerar, and I worried for my life. I revealed that Sarah was indeed my half-sister, as well as my wife, and we had agreed to present this story for our protection. In an act of goodwill, Abimelech returned Sarah to me, along with sheep, cattle, and servants, and invited us to settle anywhere in his land. He also gave Sarah 1,000 pieces of silver to clear her honor. God healed Abimelech, his family, and his servants, restoring their ability to have children, for God had closed their wombs because of Sarah. The Lord then fulfilled his promise to Sarah and me in a miraculous way. Sarah conceived and bore a son in my old age, just as God had promised. We named our son Isaac, and on the 8th day after his birth, I circumcised him according to God's instructions. At that time, I was 100 years old, a testament to God's power and faithfulness. Sarah, overjoyed, declared, "God has brought me laughter, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me." We never imagined we would be blessed with a son in our old age. When Isaac was weaned, I held a great feast to celebrate, marking a new chapter in our lives. However, not everything in our family was peaceful. One day, Sarah saw Ishmael, the son Hagar had borne to me, mocking Isaac. Upset, she asked me to send Hagar and Ishmael away, not wanting Ishmael to share the inheritance with Isaac. This request troubled me deeply, as Ishmael was also my son. But God reassured me, telling me to follow Sarah's request, for through Isaac, my offspring would be reckoned. He also promised to make Ishmael into a great nation because he was my son. With a heavy heart, but trusting in God's plan, I sent Hagar and Ishmael away with provisions. God did not abandon them, and when they were in a desperate situation in the desert, He intervened, ensuring a future for them. Ishmael grew up in the wilderness and became a skilled archer, and Hagar found him a wife from Egypt. At that time, Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, recognized that God was with me and sought to make a covenant of loyalty with me. I swore to treat them with the same loyalty they had shown me, though tensions arose over a well that Abimelech's servants had seized. Nevertheless, we resolved the conflict, exchanged gifts, and made an oath, naming the place Beersheba, meaning well of the oath. Later in my life, God tested me in an unimaginable way. He called out, "Abraham," and I answered, "Here I am." God instructed me to take Isaac, my beloved son, and offer him as a burnt offering on a mountain in the region of Moriah. The command shook me to the core, but with unwavering faith, I rose early the next day, prepared my donkey, and set out with Isaac and 2 servants. On the 3rd day, I saw the place from a distance. Leaving the servants behind, Isaac and I continued. I reassured them, "We will worship, and then we will return to you." Isaac carried the wood for the offering, and when we arrived, I built the altar and laid him upon it. As I reached for the knife, a voice from heaven stopped me. The angel of the Lord called out, "Abraham, Abraham," and I replied, "Here I am." He told me not to harm Isaac, for I had demonstrated my fear of God. I looked up and saw a ram caught in a thicket and offered it as a sacrifice in Isaac's place. I named the place "The Lord Will Provide," a testimony to God's faithfulness. The angel of the Lord blessed me again, and Isaac and I returned to Beersheba. Sarah, my beloved wife, lived to be 127 years old. Her death in Kiriath Arba, now Hebron, in the land of Canaan, brought deep sorrow. I mourned her passing and approached the Hittites to purchase a burial site. Ephron the Hittite offered me the field and cave of Machpelah, which I bought in the presence of witnesses. I buried Sarah there, securing a family tomb in the Promised Land. After Sarah's death, I found companionship with Keturah, who bore me more children, expanding the family God had promised me. To Isaac, I bequeathed all my possessions, fulfilling God's will. I lived 175 years, a life marked by faith and obedience. When my time came, I died peacefully, and Isaac and Ishmael came together to bury me in the cave of Machpelah. My story stands as a legacy of trust in God's promises, one I hope will inspire future generations.